Grey Anderson is a musician who investigates UFOs. In music, he has worked as a guitarist, vocalist, a singer, and a songwriter. But when it comes to UFOs, he holds several positions with the Mutual UFO Network. He's Assistant State Director for Southern California, Chief Field Investigator, and a member of Mufon's star team, and he joins us today. Hello, Earl. How are you today?
Doing quite well, Dean. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So this might sound like a pretty dumb question right off the bat, but do you believe in UFOs?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Very, very much so. It's interesting, when I first went into the field, I have a lot of scientific friends. I'm scientific, and one friend of mine said, "Well, how do you investigate something that doesn't exist?" And it's kind of taken aback. But her husband worked in the aerospace industry, and she was kind of playing the skeptic. And later on, I found out that she had a UFO sighting herself. She said that it was a huge blimp-shaped UFO. That it was 3 a.m. and she was when she was young, she was in a cornfield and she saw this thing. And she said, "Well, it was probably a blimp." It's
Right.
like, well, no, I don't think that Goodyear flies their blimp over a cornfield at 3 a.m. and it's all lit up, with
Sure.
no rotors on it. No, it was completely silent. And but it makes people uncomfortable sometimes to think about that we're not alone in the universe. But we aren't alone in the universe. Even the scientists in the mainstream now pretty much they seem to be a little more open to the extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Yeah. I mean, just weight of evidence. So do you necessarily have to believe in UFOs to be an investigator like yourself?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I think that it depends on what you're doing, I guess. In some ways, I mean, doing what I do, you interview a lot of people about what they've seen. And I think that if you have too much of a skeptical attitude, people are going to be less apt to share their sightings with you, I think that there was an official way of dealing with UFOs for many, many years. It kind of started in 1952. There was a thing that was held in Washington, D.C. called the Robertson Panel. Mm-hmm. And the officials, they had this UFO problem. I mean, the White House itself had been flown over 2 times in 1 week. They got radar hits. It was classic flying discs with the cupola on top. And they were getting very, very uncomfortable because people in the public were asking questions. And they said, the way we deal with this is through ridicule. We will, encourage people in the media. We will encourage scientists to tell people that they're crazy if they report something like this. And from 1952 on, that is the way that they dealt with it. So I think that people, once you see a UFO, there's a lot of ontological shock that takes place. Your worldview and your place in the universe kind of changes. So I think if somebody is coming at you and being too skeptical, that might turn them off, and it might kind of dull your ability to actually investigate the phenomenon.
Right. But, for a budding UFO investigator watching today, a little bit of inward skepticism is probably good going into an investigation, because you don't want to kind of have your mind made up. Yeah, that person's telling the truth. You still want to get all facts and get them aligned.
That's a whole different element to it. No, I always, whenever I go and I investigate a UFO sighting, you want to do this you want to use a scientific method. You want to I mean, Occam's razor is my, I shave with it every day, although I don't look like it. But you do want to go in there and because if I don't pick apart my own cases, somebody else is going to. So you do have to go in there. Usually what I'll do is I'll interview a person multiple times. with the UFO cases, the better ones are the cases where you have multiple witnesses. Of course, when it's one witness, you have to really kind of grill them, and I'll do it, multiple times. And if they change their story, or they try to make their story better, then you have to, that negates the value of that case. So yes, I believe in UFOs, and I think that in a sense you sort of have to have that essential understanding that it is a real thing to be able to investigate it. But that being said, you do have to wear your skeptic's hat as well. It's sort of a fine balance, I think.
Yeah. What about certain skills? I mean, do you need a PhD in mathematics or geometry, or are certain skills that you need to go in with?
I think that that can help. I have friends who have PhDs, various doctorates in sciences. Myself, I have a history, a background in the medical sciences. I'm actually a nurse, and I work as a nurse, and I think that you have to have a basis in the sciences to do it properly. But people kind of bring their skills to the table. You also, intuition is a very good thing. People skills is important, I think. You have to, be able to communicate with people and get to the deeper elements of their stories. Sometimes people won't even tell you the whole story because they're embarrassed of it. If there's contact involved, oftentimes people won't share that part. Sometimes people will see a UFO and they'll experience missing time, and they may have had actual alien contact, but there's still some ridicule out there.
Yeah.
So you do have to, I think, intuition, people skills, a firm basis in science is a very good thing to have. All the above.
Is there a standard procedure you follow? I guess does Mufon have a set of rules to follow before and after an investigation?
Yes, we do. Now, when you go and you become a field investigator, you receive a field investigator's handbook. It's maybe 200 pages or so. It teaches you all the ins and outs of field investigations. It will teach you how to interview a person, what to look for. You can find out how to use a Geiger counter and various things, because you'll sometimes have a radiation field that's left by a close encounter with a UFO. So that is very, very helpful. And you refer back to the field investigator's manual too. Myself, as a assistant state director and chief investigator, I still refer to it probably at least a couple times a week. It's very helpful. So that's a helpful thing there. You also have mentoring that we do. My state director, Jeff Krause, is a wonderful ufologist. He's been doing this for many years. And I'll oftentimes go and ask him his opinion about things. My cases, when I close a case, it does have to pass by his judgment as well. So we do sort of have, we kind of check on each other, and because you don't want somebody, everything that comes in isn't a UFO.
Yeah.
A lot of the precepts that we use were initiated by Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who was the head of the Air Force's study, Project Blue Book. The Close Encounter 1, 2, 3, and 4, that was his nomenclature, and a lot of the methods that we use are based on his, as well as Jacques Vallée, and some, we all do stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yep. Is it tough being an investigator? Is it a tough role?
I'm very busy, but I love it. I mean, it's my passion. And I mean, 90 to 95% of the reports that you get in are prosaic objects. I get a lot of a lot of mylar balloons that'll flash in the sun back in the wind, and people will see that and they'll think it's a UFO. Drone sightings. You can see the contrail of a jet sometimes if it's lit a certain way. Will fool people, and even a weather balloon, which we kind of hate because, of course, the Roswell crash was blamed on a weather balloon, but it was not a weather balloon. But it's that 5% when you go and you pick at a case and you look at it from every single angle. That 5% where it is an unknown and you can't explain it in any other way. Those are that's what makes it worth it, and where I find my greatest joy is when I can't explain something.